It's kind of an overcast Friday today, and there's not much going on. My dad actually just hopped on the lawnmower, so you know we're looking for stuff to do when he's mowing the lawn. This morning we fed our cattle. We darted a few feeders over at the north place, and now we're just gonna drive around and we're gonna check out some of our cover crops. And we planted them I think over a month ago, and it's getting into August now, and so we got some good growth going, and a lot of people are somewhat new to cover crops, and so I'm gonna show you guys what they're looking like and what we plan on doing with them. So to start out, we have this 15-acre patch of millet at home. This was the first of the cover crops that we planted. It was somewhere around, I think, June 25th. And since we calve out here, there's a lot of animals out here, a lot of feed that gets pooped out by our cattle out here. So we didn't put any fertilizer on this 15-acre field. And you can kind of tell that it's not the darkest stuff. It's kind of yellow. It could have used a little fertilizer, but we thought in a year like this, it'd be a good spot to save some money, not put fertilizer out here. And so with this, we're gonna cut it and bale it for some extra feed, and then after we cut it and bale it, we're gonna put in some winter rye. And our hope with the winter rye is that next spring it'll come up, and when we're calving, the calves will have a nice place to lay, and the cattle will be chomping on that short winter rye, and it'll take a little pressure off the fences, because once the grass and the fence line starts greening up, they start working on the fences, sticking their head through. Right now we're standing in our forage sorghum field, and it's sitting at about 3 foot high, and we planted this also about a month ago. It would have been early July, actually, I remember. We put about 100 pounds of urea per acre out here. Sometime after September 1st, when the moisture is suitable for us to chop this for silage, we'll be getting trucks out here and a forage harvester, and we'll chop it up and put it in our pit. And hopefully this will last us at least 2 years, maybe 3, feeding our cattle out of the silage bunker. There's about 41 acres of forage sorghum out here, and when we're feeding our cattle, we don't just give them this silage when it's chopped up. We also give them grass hay, alfalfa hay, some pellets, and mineral, and corn. Next, we're gonna go on the other side of this field. It's over 200 acres. We got some of it planted to sorghum, some of it planted to corn, and the other side is planted to millet. There's about 100 acres, more than 100 acres over there.
140 acres of German millet.
There's about 140 acres of German millet, and so we'll go check that out now. Millet on this east side was planted probably about 2 weeks later than that first millet field. And we can see that it's shorter just by looking at it. It's sitting at about 19-20 inches tall. And so with this stuff, like the other stuff, we're gonna cut it and bale it for some extra feed. And then that'll just get this field prepared for being soybeans next year. This sudangrass was planted 3 weeks ago, and it was the last stuff that we drilled. Right now, well, this one's about 3 foot high, and so it's pretty much the tallest stuff that we have, even though it was planted the latest. And this is an 80-acre field, and we planted half of it to sudangrass, and the other half we planted to radishes and turnips. And if you look down here, this is the end row, and it didn't come up very good. And I don't know, we got some yellowing, got a poor stand. The stand was so poor, we were worried about weeds coming up, and they actually kind of started coming up. And there's nothing we could really do about it besides spraying it off, and that would have cost another 15 bucks an acre, and then reseeded it. And so we decided to interseed some more sudangrass over there, because looking at this, it came up quickly and it's growing really well. And you can see on this end row, the stuff that Dad overseeded is coming up pretty good. Looking at the drone video, you can tell that it's wetter than it was a few weeks ago, which is pretty crazy considering we're getting into August and it's usually a lot drier around this time of year. And looking where the radishes were planted, you can see where it's darker, there's a lot less plants growing because they drowned out. And that's why we had to replant it, I think. I might have drilled it a little too deep, and those radishes and turnips don't like to be planted really deep, and so it might have been a little bit of my error and also too wet. So with that field, since it's basically gonna all be sudangrass, we're gonna graze all of it, because we're thinking with all that millet, we don't need to hay this as well. There'll be a little bit of turnips out there that'll come up. Since it's right next to a cornfield, there's a cornfield north of it, we'll be able to let our cows out there, and they'll have some nice winter grazing, winter and late fall grazing. We're taking a quick pit stop. We got 22 calves over at the south place here, and we just come over here and feed them a little bit of corn every day. Dad's grabbing some corn. We feed them 4 buckets of corn each day. Pretty good rate for their size, and they've been cleaning the bunk up really good. And we're not just giving them corn, we also have a protein tub out here. Hello, fella. And they've been working pretty good on that. So these guys were born in February, weaned in June, and looking at them, I'd say they're less than 400 pounds, but they've been growing quite a bit. When we actually first started feeding them corn out of this bunk, they couldn't get all the way down because they just were kind of short. You can see they're trying pretty hard to get down in there, but they've been growing, and it's getting easier for them to get this corn. So now we'll be headed to a 33-acre field, and it also has millet in it. It was planted the same date as that first one we saw, that first 15-acre field, but it looks a lot better. I'm not sure why, but the stand looks really good, and it looks like it's taller. But it just started to rain, so, or sprinkle, I guess, but I won't be able to fly my drone out there. One of our neighbors has a unique mix of cover crop. He's got some yellow foxtail, a little bit of sunflower, there's some mare's tail sticking up, a little bit of water hemp. So he went for diversity this year, and also something that would give him a lot of biomass, maybe some green manure if he decided to till it under later. This is the first field of German millet that we planted, and it's sitting at about 20 inches tall. And you can see, compared to that first field that we are at today, it was planted on the same day as that stuff. This stuff is a lot greener, and we're kind of thinking that the reason for that is this was soybeans 2 years in a row. Because when the nodules that have formed on the soybeans roots break down, they release that little bit of nitrogen that they have left. And so since this was soybeans 2 years in a row, there's a lot of extra nitrogen in here, helping the grass to be a little bit greener and probably be a little bit taller. With this stuff, we're gonna cut it and we're gonna bale it. I'll be putting videos out when we're doing that process, and should be pretty cool. It actually started raining pretty good, and I didn't even know it was in the forecast, so it's gonna stay wet. We still have grass that needs put on the ground, but it's just too wet to get at it. And we got third cutting of alfalfa coming. These cover crops, they're not thirsty at all, that's for sure. We looked at a couple fields of millet, we looked at some sudangrass, some sorghum, and a little bit of radishes and turnips. They didn't turn out very well. Not many people have seen some of these cover crops, and so I wanted to just show how they're doing, how they're progressing. And so thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. See you next time.